What's going on, homies? Welcome to the Cracked Podcast, episode number 3. Numero tres, trois. Only two of us today. Myself, Angel, El Capitan Reyes, and we have Fernando Jimenez. Say what's up to the people, Fern.
What's up, guys? It's Fern here. Unfortunately, our friend Lopez was too scared to show up today after his horrible picks last week, so it'll just be us two.
He's a little scared. He didn't want to show his face. Speaking of our picks, speaking of the leaderboard, Fernando, can you please share the leaderboard and see where we are all landing right now in terms of our picks? Because things have changed.
Yes.
Things have changed in a dramatic way, and I believe it's something that we definitely need to show the people that are watching. Not sure who's following along, but for those of you that are, in first place, Mr. Novice himself, Lopez Chino, in first place, beating all of us. I mean, the guy said he didn't know anything about soccer. I think he played us, man. I think he duped us.
Yeah, he wants that jersey, man. It's kind of hard to say beginner's luck in week 2 going into week 3, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than
I know. It could be, but we're not going to say that. It could be. We're going to say it's skill. The guy has 13 correct picks, which is awesome. Hats off to you, Chino. Hats off to you, my friend. I am 2 behind with 11, and Fern, you are not far behind with 10.
I'll make it up this week. Don't worry. You'll see me on the top week 4.
I think I'm going to get you guys in the second half of the season. I'm probably going to have some crappy picks right now because I think a lot of teams are still kind of figuring things out.
Yeah.
Some teams. So maybe during the second half of the season, I'll kind of start coming back and seeing myself win.
Yeah, it's hard with a lot of the teams that you expect to be good. A lot of the teams we expected to be good right now aren't playing up to par, which can affect the picks. So I'll blame it on them, and it's not anything with me.
There you go. Well, thanks for the leaderboard, my friend. Awesome to see Chino up there at the top. Good for him. We're going to go right into our cracked performances of the week. We will not be going through each individual game. For our cracked performances for week 2, Fernando, why don't you kick us off here? Burn, tell us who your cracked players are. Crack one open for them.
Hey, I got you guys. You ready? There you go.
Love it.
So, unfortunately, Messi didn't play this week, so I can't pick him. But I will pick the second coming of Messi in Segovia for Inter Miami. I just feel like, no bias here, but I just feel like he's honestly coming into the season, I had no idea who he was. He scored the game-tying goal week 1, and it was a pretty difficult goal. You know, he had to do that little chip over. He had some work to do, even with that great pass for Messi. And this week, he doubled it and scored 2 goals, and I just feel like that's what Inter Miami needs. Is when Messi's gone, he needs the players to step up. So, and Segovia definitely did that. So
yeah, for sure, solid pick. Obviously, they had to step up without the goat in there. So hats off to him. He's pretty young, no?
Young he's only 21 years old. Is what he's young.
Yeah, crazy. So good for him. Hats off to him. You said 2 goals?
2 goals.
Nice. There you go with the brace. Nice and easy for him. Perfect, man. Any games you specifically enjoyed from the week 2?
I don't like. I want to do the LA Galaxy game. Although I did the same thing last week, but I feel like this week I wanted to do LA Galaxy just because it's the game of the week for me, just because it's showing how much of a downfall the LA Galaxy is having, and it's just crazy to me. To two games, 2 losses for the reigning champions is just not a good look. So I guess it's not my game of the week, but my down of the week. I'll switch it up a little bit. So
the one you got to pour one out for him is what we're doing. Instead of cracking one open for him, we're pouring one out for him, right?
Pour something real quick.
There you go. Pretend.
Yeah,
man. I mean, 2 losses to start off the season, rough, man. I never would have thought. Honestly, I think all of us, even in our picks, had them both winning week 1 and week 2.
We all had them winning, especially against the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and Vancouver's looking good too. So, I mean, obviously that's going to be an interesting team to watch, but definitely very interesting to see them, in such a slump. But I do believe they will come back hopefully. If they don't, honestly, it is what it is. If they can't climb back from this mountain or this ditch that they've dug themselves in, it is what it is, man. Sorry you're being crappy, Galaxy.
It's kind of like what I said on episode 1 was like, they do have that break of, from the final winning the title and then coming into the season. But you also, like, your break is a lot shorter than everybody else's, and you're coming in a bit like not tired per se, but like you didn't have as much time off as the other team, so maybe that's affecting them a little bit. And especially with getting rid of your top scorer from last year and losing your best midfielder to an ACL, so we'll see if they pick it up later on once he's back.
Yeah, well, we're hoping that they can keep us all entertained. So even if they do come back, we'll see how it goes for them.
Yep.
Nice, solid cracked picks, my friend. I am up to crack one open for my cracked performances of week 2. Crispy. My cracked performance game of the week. I'm going to have to give it to Real Salt Lake. Obviously, in Utah, I'm a little bit biased. Not biased, but they did end up beating Seattle 2-0 to beat Seattle at home with a packed crowd. And obviously Seattle, team that a lot of people are kind of looking at to be very competitive in the Western Conference, and RSL just hung on and beat them 2-0. I did watch the majority of this game. I'm not sure if you did, but I do know Seattle had a very quick goal. I think within the first 5 or so minutes they scored a goal, but it was disallowed because of offsides. Maybe it threw them off a little bit because I think a couple minutes later, around the 10th or so minute, Real Salt Lake had a goal, but it was an own goal. And I think that just kind of threw them off, man. I mean, the offside, the own goal kind of threw everything off. And at the end of the day, they ended up winning 2-0, which is good for them, good for RSL. And another reason why I picked them was because they've lost so many games going up to this game. They lost their opener. They lost not just
the
lost
Champions
the opener,
Cup.
They lost 4-0 against San Jose. And then they lose to Herediano in the CONCACAF at home. Dude, what the heck's going on? I mean, going into it, I thought there's going to be a slump. These guys are going to have a hard time coming back. They got no number 9. The midfield got nobody to play it to. The defense is not looking as solid as it should. I was worried, and then they do this. I also believe we all picked Seattle to win this game. Did not give RSL the respect that they deserve. Hats off to you, RSL, beating Seattle 2-0. Good on you.
Yeah, we all picked the Sounders this week. So, but like you said, it's like you come in so slow to the season. The first 2 games you lose, 1 at home. I think this was their first home game, right? The first MLS home game, and then to lose the CONCACAF. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but like you would assume that they would win. Like we said last week, they're coming into the cold and they're from Costa Rica. You would think it would affect them a little bit, even though it hasn't been as cold. Yeah, so the MLS was one of my options for game of the week, just for that little surprise, because I feel like the Sounders have a really, really strong squad. So
hats off to you, RSL. You got my cracked game of the week. My cracked player of the week is going to have to go to Old Man Suarez. Old Man Suarez putting up 3 assists and 2 goals. Pretty nuts, right? Or was it 2 goals or 1 goal? Might have been 1 goal.
I believe it was 1 goal and 2 assists.
2 assists, 1 goal. Hats off to you, Mr. Suarez. The guy...
3 assists, 1 goal.
Right. 1 goal. Okay, that's what it was. 3 assists, 1 goal. The man can still play. The man can still press. The man still has a great first touch. The man
heard
can
me
dribble
last
the
week.
ball. He heard you. The knees do look a little wobbly. The knees do look like they're going a little bit. I did see at the very beginning of this game, they were doing some drills. Suarez with Messi doing a couple drills, going back and forth. The get off isn't there anymore. It is what it is. The guy's almost, 40 years old? It's okay. But
38.
Exactly. He's almost 40, but the guy showed he can still play. He can still get it done in the MLS. They got a big win without Messi. So hats off to him. The guy played very well for his age and just in general. Hats off to you, Suarez.
Yeah, no. I was taken aback, I'm not going to lie. I was since week 1, I've kind of just been dogging him. I love Suarez. He's played for Barcelona during some of the peak times there. And after I saw that performance, I was just like, dang, like he definitely shut me up. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. I feel like Messi being out helps him a little bit because if you ever watch Inter Miami play, Messi is just floating around, just kind of
Yep.
standing around, and I feel like it helped him not have to like kind of pick up the pace for Messi, which is what most of the time, if you watch any Argentina game, is that's what the striker is doing, is picking up the slack for what Messi's not doing. So I feel like that helped them a little bit too, to be able to be the
For
lazy one
sure.
on the pitch.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, the guy played well. So,
Mhm.
obviously put up some numbers. So good for him. Speaking of Inter Miami, I did want to go into a little story that I found now that we're done with the crap performances of the week. No Messi, no problem. No problem in Houston. Obviously, Inter Miami beat Houston in a respectable fashion. But the crazy part is, like you said, Messi did not play. And this is actually something that I found on Fox Sports story. Lionel Messi sits Houston Dynamo fans compensated with future tickets. So essentially, all these people were pissed off that they did not get a chance to see Messi in Houston. And now all of them are getting tickets for a game in the future in Houston. I mean, talk about crazy, my guy. I don't know how many people attended this game. I'm pretty sure it was a lot. But to give every single one of these people a compensation for a future ticket, talk about a crazy headline, man. What are your thoughts on the fact that Houston Dynamo did this to all their fans?
If I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn it said that they sold out the stadium,
Yeah,
which
I don't doubt it.
you know what? Like, I understand fans being frustrated and stuff because it sucks paying. I don't know. Because I was doing some research for some future topic, but I was looking at the most expensive tickets and the cheapest tickets for the MLS. And the trend for the most expensive tickets was Miami and every single
Yeah.
one. And every single cheapest ticket for a Miami game outside of home was 500 and above. So I
Wow.
understand,
Yeah.
the disappointment. And I've seen a lot of discourse about it online. People saying like, you know what, it's like they think Houston shouldn't be giving a ticket for the future because that's sort of the risk you take when you buy a ticket to a game. You can't, unless they already have the lineup and everything's confirmed. You can't buy a ticket hoping that you get something,
Right.
such as
Eh,
like Messi being there, right?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, they're paying to watch a soccer game. Doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah.
they're paying to watch Messi play.
Yeah. And then I feel like, yeah, it's an away game. Their schedule's a bit congested right now. I feel like it's not uncommon for soccer teams to rest their players because, unlike some of the sports like football or basketball, they can't just come in and out of the pitch as they please. If they play the full 90 minutes, they played the full 90 minutes. And right now, Miami's playing Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. And people seem to forget that Messi is also old. He needs a bit more rest. So, as unfortunate as it is, I feel like it's not uncommon and it sucks because I know I would hate to be the person that bought tickets to go watch Messi and he doesn't show up.
Yeah. I mean, totally understand. I will say there's probably two things I love about this and also two things that I completely hate about this. Two things I like, I would say, is that they're going to keep Messi healthy. They're cognizant of the fact that we need to make sure that he's healthy for the rest of the season. We need to make sure that he's healthy for the tournaments that we're playing. They understand that. They understand that he's needed, right? I also like the fact that they understand that Messi's going to draw the crowds, that they're going to obviously charging more per ticket because he's going to be there. And so they can understand, like, hey, we probably overcharged you for this game just because of one guy and he didn't play. So we're going to compensate you for the tickets. I get it. Like, that's respectable. If people hate on that, like, hate on it, whatever you want to say. Two things I probably don't like about this, though, is that one, I want to say Michael Jordan or something like that, or maybe it was Kobe Bryant. They mentioned, hey, if I'm healthy, I'm going to play every game. Unless they're broken or battered really, really badly, they're not sitting out. These people are paying very good money to watch these players play. And if they go and they're not able to watch this player compete, and maybe what could be their only chance to ever watch them play, shame on the player, dude. I don't think
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo's doing that. I mean,
Well, Cristiano Ronaldo isn't selling out stadiums, so.
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure a lot of people go to see Cristiano Ronaldo, especially out in, where is he? Saudi
Saudi,
Arabia?
exactly. Where is he? Nowhere. No.
Listen, I get the Saudi League is not the MLS.
uh,
I'm not in Saudi Arabia. I'm just saying that. But listen, I think if you're healthy, play.
Yeah.
It's something that's like you mentioned. It happens in other sports. It happens in the NFL. It happens in the NBA. It happens in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But I think if you're healthy, like Messi is, and they said it too, it's not because he's injured. It's not because he's tired. We're just playing tactically in the fact that we know that he's playing a lot of games right now. We want to rest him. From my understanding, they want the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They want a
Yeah.
trophy.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm fine with like players resting and stuff. Well, I guess kind of like what they could have done was like, you know what, play 20 minutes, or if you're not gonna play, travel with the team. At least like sit on the bench or something. I've seen like just sit on the bench or something, just so the fans like can at least see you or something.
Yeah.
Or because it's a lot of money to pay to see one of the best players to ever play and not have the chance to. So I feel like maybe, like you said, maybe he should have played a few minutes or at least traveled with the team just to give the fans the satisfaction of being able to see him. Which whether I see him on the streets, I see him on the bench, I see him on the field, I won't care. I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the last point of like the fact that I didn't like this is also because in a way you can think of this as somewhat of a slap to the face to Houston Dynamo saying, we don't need Messi to beat you.
Well, I can't remember what it was, but they did play them once before last year, and Messi also didn't play in that game. So Messi just does not like Houston. Yeah, they played last year. Maybe for next week's episode, I can kind of figure it out. Wow. I should have done research, but I do know that they played last year, and he didn't play either, and Houston won that game.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so that is interesting. I mean, just from the way I can kind of look at that from an outsider's perspective, obviously to me, it almost sounded like, hey, we don't really respect Houston right now. It probably wasn't the case, but it kind of did somewhat seem that way just because they didn't play him. They ended up winning 4-1. It's like, why did he need to travel anyways, right? If he traveled, it would have been like, what a waste, right? If they would have played him, what a waste. Keep him fresh, keep him healthy. But either way, they won. No Messi, no problem. So good on them.
Yeah, and then new coach, maybe he has a different plan of what he wants to do. So
yeah, that's true. All right, next little story here that I wanted to also bring up from week 2. I think we kind of looked at this as somewhat of a game to watch with San Diego and St. Louis, 2 expansion teams obviously going head to head. But the crazy little story that I ended up finding, it's a Guardian story around San Diego FC and their stadium or home crowd presence, right? So the story basically goes that the San Diego fans were chanting what they believe to be a homophobic chant, right? And when you have, an inaugural game, your first home game, you're a brand new team of the MLS, I believe it was something around almost 35,000 fans. I mean, it was sold out, right?
Yeah, it was 34,506.
Exactly. I mean, it was almost sold out, and you go there and you have these chants that are very, well known to anybody that's very familiar with the Mexican national team. We won't repeat them on here, but they definitely do them. And obviously San Diego being very close to the border into Mexico, you're going to get a lot of, people familiar with this chant or familiar with this way of chanting. It sounds like San Diego as a club was not happy, very much not happy. I think they ended up sending out some sort of a letter saying, hey, we don't like this. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. They were also warned before. They said it was unacceptable. So very interesting to see this.
I believe they also had a sign on their Jumbotron or whatever, saying like, hey, we need to stop. So
I mean, the thing that's crazy about it is obviously this isn't new, right? This is something that happens a lot, but it still happened at a San Diego game. What do you think with not necessarily the chant in general, but kind of just bringing that to games, bringing these kind of chants, these kind of, actions from the crowd to these games that maybe some people don't like, maybe some people do like, who knows? Like, what are your thoughts on just the fact that some of these, crowds are bringing this into the stadium?
You know what? I'm all for chants, trying to get the vibe going, getting your team hyped up to try and get the win and everything. Growing up, this chant that everybody is talking about, I've always heard about it. May have done it a couple times in the past.
Allegedly.
Before I knew kind of I guess the derogatory way in what it's used. You grow up, so it's just kind of like something.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just
so
something you
I
did. You never
honestly,
you
I
thought it was
never,
harmless.
yeah, just always thought I was harmless. So yeah, I mean, I understand them wanting to get rid of it, and I just feel like maybe they just need to find something on their own to kind of start giving themselves a name. And I feel like that's what a lot of like the teams in the MLS right now is trying to find their ultras, trying to get a fan base and things going. And I've seen a lot of things online where people are like, "Oh, the MLS is cringe. They're doing like all this like they're trying to be like us or stuff like that." So I mean, that's what I want. I want to be able to go to a game and experience something like my jersey. I'm
Yeah.
wearing a Dortmund jersey right now, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Dortmund game, but they have this wall behind,
Hmm.
I believe, the south wall of the stadium. They just call it the yellow wall, and you just see it 20,000 people, something like that, just up along the wall, just going crazy and everything. And I'm all for the MLS trying to do the same thing. I just feel like with the MLS being so new, they're trying to figure something out to be able to get the fans to have the same passion. But it's hard when we've 30 years. The MLS has been around 30
Hmm.
years. And not only has it been around for 30 years, but it's also a sport where most Americans kind of see as like not as important as like
Right.
football or like
Yeah.
basketball. So it's kind of hard to get people going to games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can say what you want about the chants. I also don't ever, I never thought of it as something, hurtful. It was just something that we knew, right?
Mm,
So I think in from my perspective, you kind of are already bringing down the fan somewhat because of all the restrictions you have based off of safety, right?
mm,
So you can't take, at least in the MLS, right? And I know in some other places it's very different, some other countries, right?
mm,
In the MLS, you can't bring any fireworks, you can't bring any flares, you can't bring any horns, you can't bring any sort of bells. You really can't bring anything to kind of make noise. So the only way you can really do that is through some form of a chant. And I think the coolest way to do that, like in order to kind of bring the fans into it, is to do kind of what they do in the Premier League, where they kind of throw very known songs and they kind of mix up the lyrics to say
yeah.
something about the other team, about the player, whatever it may be. I think that's very unique. It's very cool. It's something that every MLS team should adopt and should start doing.
Yeah.
Which ones will do it the best, we'll probably see. But I think that's one way to kind of bring the fans in so they can, make these songs, make these chants, not to kind of bring people down, but just to kind of, express themselves, right?
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, yes, it's sports. Like, you're gonna talk shit. Like, it is what it is. If you can't handle it, dude, I'm sorry. Go do something else. But that's kind of where it kind of gets into that fine line of this is acceptable in a way, and we don't. Maybe we do, or maybe we don't want to kind of get it to where it is into that ultra mentality, right? And for those that don't know, an ultra is basically some form of a diehard fan in the soccer world, right? There's these people that travel to every game. They make sure that they're known in every game. They pull up the banners, they build up the signs, they have the flares, they're making noise, they have the drums, everything, right?
And then something with like you said, the ultras and everything is in Europe. I mean, at the Rio Tinto Stadium where RSL plays, they have a similar thing where like in this top corner, that's where all the away fans go, so the players know their supporters are there. They kind
Mm-hmm.
of do the same thing in Europe, but they also have that section with the ultras where like you are not allowed to wear anything other than the team colors. You have
Yeah.
to be chanting, you have to be doing stuff like this. And a good example of kind of America trying to off of soccer for a little bit is the new Los Angeles Clippers stadium. They have a yellow wall type thing where they built a wall kind of behind the basket where you have to pretty much verify you're Clippers fan. And I feel like maybe some of like the stadiums for soccer could kind of adopt a similar type thing where like,
Yeah.
you know what, like, yeah, not everybody's gonna know all the chants,
Mm.
know all the players, do all this stuff, but if there was a way you could kind of just like gather them all in one spot to just
Yeah.
kind of bring up the support for the teams and kind of help the people around you also feel like
they're a part of the team.
Yeah,
they're
like
part
feel
of
like
the crowd.
feel like they're part of the crowd. So then it brings up the motivation a bit, because I've been to a few RSL games, and you know what, like it's nothing crazy. I've never
Yeah.
been to an RSL game and been like, oh my gosh, like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can say that to a lot of different,
yeah.
games, not just in Utah, but probably to a couple others. But
Mhm.
I think the thing that irks me the most when I do attend some form of a sporting event, whether it be MLS, NBA, anything like that, I think what irks me the most is the fact that there are so many fans that pay to go to these games and they just want to sit. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to, make noise. They don't want to clap. They don't want to cheer. They don't want to stand. All they want to do is sit and watch the game. My people, if you wanted to do that, do it at home. Do not come to the stadium, the arena, whatever it is, and bring that energy there. I want
Yeah.
to go to a game and I want to stand and I want to cheer and I want to yell. And if I see a player really close to me on the opposite team, I'm going to say something to him. I ain't going to be mean. I'm not going to be,
Yeah.
that guy, but I'm going to say something to him. Be like, yo, your shoes untied. Yo, that was bad pass. Yo, you suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just kind of that mentality you kind of want to have, and you don't really want to go to a game and think, man, there's really nothing special about this game. The only thing that's cool about this game is maybe the two teams that are going, or maybe the fact that I like this other team. But you want to have a crowd like that to where you're going and you're saying, wow, dude, like, this stadium is so cool because they have a section over here where all they do the whole game is play drums. All they do the whole game is do chants. All they do the whole game, I don't know, they have a banner, whatever it may be. Just
Mhm.
do something to make it interesting, to make it memorable for these people that come and watch the game, right?
Yeah.
It's something that needs to be adopted. And I think also, just kind of going off of this point too, it's something that can also grow because like you said, 30 or so years, right? It's
Mhm.
still kind of a young league. I get it.
Yeah.
When you kind of look at, more traditional sports in the US, like football, for example, like when you go to a NCAA football game, there's tradition there everywhere. You go to a
Yeah.
Michigan game, different. You go to a Penn State game, different. You go to a Texas game, different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So I
that's
just
literally
think it
one
needs
of
to
the
get
things
there.
I had on my chalkboard of, with the MLS being so young, is like, I was watching a video and someone was like, yeah, they came from Europe, they came and watched a college football game, and they're like, they remind me so much of European football. And that's just because, you know what, like, people, it's not just like a team, you went to school there. You have like a certain respect for it, and like you feel like you're a part of that team.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they have a lot of those traditions. And I was gonna say, the at the be I guess last year I went to a preseason game out here in New York. Was a Clásico Real Madrid versus Barcelona, and that
Mm-hmm.
was like one of the first times where I left the soccer game, and I was just like amazed a bit, like how there was a preseason game. Barcelona won, obviously. And it was just crazy. Like, we were all leaving and there was so much chanting going on, and it's like a cool feeling just walking out the stadium and you just see everybody chanting and everything, and it was like a really fun experience. And I feel like the MLS, it's growing a lot. It's definitely like seen a uptick in attendance. Just feel like maybe some, like, there's I feel like there's enough money where like you can start building some like more soccer specific stadiums for certain teams.
Yeah.
Like, look at Atlanta United. They have the
Yeah.
best attendance in the MLS. They have a stadium as big as Old Trafford.
Yep.
And as much as I love the elements, snow and stuff like that, sometimes I do wish we had a bit more closed off
Yeah.
stadiums to help. Because, like, football, like, yeah, like snow games are kind of tough, but the ball's always either in the air or in somebody's hands. In
Yeah.
soccer, you're playing it on the grass, doing whatever, so it can affect the play of the game. Like last year, I swear there was a snow game here in Salt Lake against the LA Galaxy where they were about to score and the ball stops because of the snow. And I just
Yeah. I've
feel
seen
like
that.
stuff like that, like, as much as I do like it, I wish there was more ways to avoid it.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think it's one of those things. And you did mention this earlier too, where they can kind of start looking at some of these MLS teams and some of the
Mhm.
traditions and some of the ultras in MLS, and they kind of look down on them in a way. They're kind of saying they're trying to copy this, trying to copy that. No shit, dude. I mean, we've been around for
Mhm.
30 years. Premier League's been around for over 100. La Liga, like 90-something years. You know what I mean? There's been around for a long time. We need to have something to kind of go off of. For example, you brought up, we were talking about the Zaha celebration and how he won on a throne after being named, I believe, man of the match. And some people dog the fact that they did that. Like, dude, that's cool. It's different. It's something that needs to continue to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like, maybe it's not like a chant or whatever, but you also have to realize it. Like, people will talk smack because we're trying to copy them, trying to do the chants. But then when we do something new or try and stand out, they're like, oh, that's cringe. Why are you doing something like that? Yeah, because there's this video out there of, I believe it's a Sounders fan, and you guys can search it up. You'll probably have to search it up after. I'll show you after. But he's trying, but it's not given, and I just feel really bad. But yeah, stuff like that, like I can understand where people are like, but I'm like, you gotta try something. And when you're trying something new, the reason it seems cringe is because he's trying something new and not everybody around him is in on it. Where in like Europe, they're all in on it. So it seems cooler because everybody knows what's going on. And when you're trying to start something new, it's going to seem weird at first because everybody's like, what the heck? But as soon as it like catches on, and then that's when everybody's doing it and it doesn't seem as weird. You're not the odd man out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, you know, like you said, you just need to kind of have that group around you, right, to kind of bring those things out. I do think something that needs to be, you know, maybe more, not necessarily accepted, but maybe accessible, is understanding where some of these ultra groups or coming up ultra groups are at. You know, when you think about, you know, Charlotte, when you think about Salt Lake, when you think about, you know, maybe these teams that you don't always kind of look at, like an LAFC or an LA Galaxy or an NYFC or Red Bulls, right? Like those big powerhouse teams. You kind of think about these smaller, maybe not smaller, but maybe not so recognizable brands. Where do these people go to find the diehard fans? The people that are going to, you know, they're going to a bar 5 hours before this game starts or somewhere 5 hours before this game starts. And they're going to hang out, somewhat like tailgate in a way, or hang out. And then they're walking to the stadium together, right? I've seen this a couple times too, like on social media and stuff, where, you know, they'll have a big group and they'll kind of walk through the street to the game, to the stadium, with drums, with whatever, and then they'll kind of just walk in, right? And they obviously are, you know, probably have some form of alignment with the stadium to where they know that everybody there has a ticket, everybody there is okay to get in. But where do these people find them? Like, is it like a Reddit thing? Is it an Instagram thing, Twitter? What is it that these people use to kind of do that? And I think that needs to be more, hey, this is what the group is. This is where you can find them. This is where you can hang out. You live here, come over here. You know what I mean? It needs to be more accessible to the everyday fan.
And then this is a kind of also with like something I had was like how people are like, oh, it's a retirement league. Like these players, they're bringing in like older players. But I feel like it's also kind of, it'll become better as the younger generation sees the MLS and they grow up on the MLS. You know, it'll start getting bigger. Maybe you'll have more like ultras and stuff like that where I'm as old as the league, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I feel like I haven't been around for that long. So I just feel like as it keeps growing, and then I don't know, I honestly have no good idea of how to help in that aspect and attendance. I was looking at ticket prices because I was like, you know, are the tickets just super expensive to these games? And sort of as I did research, I was kind of like, oh, you know what? Like I was kind of under the mindset of being like, oh, tickets are super expensive for like games that don't quote unquote matter, like not like a Inter Miami type game where like tickets are, like I said, over $500 playoff games. So, and honestly, I was kind of surprised to find out that it's pretty even, like it's pretty similar to what people are paying out in Europe for like if you're buying like a ticket from like the actual place, which I don't think I've ever bought a ticket from like the actual RSL place. It's always from a certain ticketing brand party, or something like that, and they're always charging fees up the butt, you know, freaking $30 ticket ends up to $90 after fees. I'm like, what the heck, you know? So I just feel like if in Europe there's like certain websites where you have to like be like a fan or kind of like prove something to know that they're giving it to somebody that actually wants to watch the game and not just sell it. And I feel like there needs to be a better way of doing that with the MLS where I don't have to go to a third party and spend a bunch of fees and just give you the money to
Yeah.
the stadium or whatever. And then that way they can get more like fans that are actually like there and want to enjoy the game,
Yeah.
even if they may not have as much money as some other people do to be able to just, like, oh, I don't care about the game. I just want to go out with some friends and drink or something. That way they can get more people from the community to come in and fill the stadium up a little bit more and,
Yeah.
kind of have more passion for the game than people do right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that you bring up a good point with the pricing of tickets. I've always been curious how the prices from the US differ from prices, say, in the Premier League. I wanted to say that maybe in the Premier League they had something to where you can't necessarily price gouge in a way. Because when you think about it, like, yes, the clubs are going to charge more money when Messi's in town, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Inter Miami's in town, when LA Galaxy's in town, when LAFC's in town, when these big name clubs are in town, they're going to charge more, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something to where we say, hey, look, we get it. You're trying to make money, but you can't do this so much. You can't
Yeah.
charge 10x what you normally charge just because of this other team is coming into town. I get it. I understand the idea of charging a bigger price because of it. It is what it is, right? But why can't we have it to where more people can kind of sell these tickets to where, the better price one wins, right? More
Mm-hmm.
competition, right? More competition in terms of like selling tickets. I just think there needs to be some form of a rule around that because, like you said, some people from some games can only have a chance to go to one game all year,
Mm-hmm.
and if they don't get to see what they want to see, or maybe they spent way too much money because of it, like, what do you do after? Like, you're going to have this bad taste in your mouth of like, I never want to go to one of these games again because I got charged like crazy. I didn't see the player I wanted to see play, and then my
And
team
no
lost.
goals. Yeah. Or
Or
no
no
goals.
goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a basketball game or like a football game where you're pretty much guaranteed a score on either side, especially basketball. You're constantly seeing something. And that's why I feel like a lot of Americans are so used to those type of sports where they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm seeing this. And then you go to soccer. And then if you're not like a big fan of soccer, you're only there for the goals. You don't care about,
Right.
how, oh, look, these guys, like, look how they're passing. Look, the skills
Right.
that they're doing. You're just there. Oh, they didn't score a goal. This game sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, then definitely. Cause like you said, like, oh, I have money for one game. What game do I go to? The one game I want to go to is super expensive because everybody wants to go to that game. Like, you know what? I just feel like definitely not saying like tickets are like the craziest thing ever. But it's definitely I know it's definitely above maybe some like what some people would be able to spend. So
Right.
I feel like if you're able to like lower the pricing down or like have like this is a fan day where tickets
Yeah.
are a set price and they're not more than this, so we can fill up the stadium, and then you can kind of maybe make fans that way, just having like a special day where, like, you know what, if the tickets are going to be on this lower bowl, they're going to be this much. As you get higher, like they have like a
Yeah.
set amount maybe by chance, and then we can fill the stadium and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I think we actually talked about this briefly, maybe last week, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even just in prep last week, where I believe Seattle is doing a
Mm,
form of way to get people to the
yeah,
stadium where they're giving
yeah,
away a ticket for first time ever
yeah,
people
yeah,
or attendance, right? So
yeah,
they're doing some very creative way to get people into the stadium, to get people to go to the Sounders games, which is super cool. I mean, I don't know how they can do that. I mean, Lumen is probably one of the bigger stadiums and, well attended stadiums, so I can probably understand how they can do it. But things like that, right? And also the things that I like from other sports and leagues that they do to kind of bring more people into the stadiums, like to bring higher attendance, to bring more traditions, to bring more, this like mentality of like fans, is when they kind of do these collaborations with, other brands, right? Like when LA Galaxy did the One Piece collaboration and they did some cool video, or like when, somebody does some collaboration with a specific brand and the first, the lower bowl section all gets a cool T-shirt, right? Like that's things like that kind of bring people in and kind of get people excited to go to a game. I think that you just need to see more of that, right? Like I know Adidas can do something to where they can give people a freaking towel, a free a shirt,
or
something to
or even
that to kind of
Apple.
bring people in. Or Apple, exactly, right? I mean, Apple can do something. I know they can.
Yeah.
Why can't they do something like that to kind of bring people in, right? Maybe it's like you said, maybe it's some form of a week to where
Mm-hmm.
everybody that goes in this week, you guys all get a cool shirt that has the crest of the team, of the home team, and then an Apple logo on the side. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
who's not gonna want that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think one of the loudest things I've ever been to was a Jazz playoff game when Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert were there. I think that was the last season they were there. Um, but it was crazy. Like they have all the seats. I mean, obviously it's a playoff game, so it's gonna be fuller than usual. But they have all these seats. I didn't realize. I'm like, oh, cool. I get a freaking shirt that I can wear whenever. Um, and like I said, like just like a fan appreciation day or something. Like
Yeah,
even if the companies can't do it, RSL should be able to be like, hey, fan appreciation game. They can even do it for like a game that you would think they wouldn't make as much profit against like
right.
a bigger well-known team. They can do it against like maybe a lesser team so they feel like they don't lose as much money as you would
Yeah,
think, but then that way you can get fans in, and then who knows, maybe some person that's never been there before, a family's never been there before, they go to their first game and it's packed and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, let's start
yeah,
doing this more often, let's
yep,
buy season tickets.
yep.
Because I feel like, yeah, you're making money by selling all these tickets, but if you can get people coming in, you
Yeah, the atmosphere.
like, I understand the like, you know what, oh, not a lot of people come in, so we charge more money so that way we can make our profits from that. But maybe like make the tickets a little bit less expensive, you get more people coming in,
Hmm.
and you're still making your profits that way. But now
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
more fans in there, and the games seem more exciting because there's more people chanting, more people know your chants, and
Yeah,
everybody in the stadium is in on it. So
yeah, exactly. Plus, everybody's already charging a left arm for a beer, so like you guys can do something like that.
yeah, fan appreciation
Crazy.
day, free beer for the entire game.
Ooh, for the whole game, and that's probably the most expensive part, dude. It'd be nuts.
Yeah, so
Sick. Okay. Sweet, solid stories that we kind of covered here too. I think what we can do now is go into our picks for week 3. Kind of start getting these into the books here. As we mentioned, our friend Chino is not here today, but he did share his picks for week 3. So we will also make sure that we get him on the board here. So week three, starting it off. Let's see here with Houston Dynamo versus the Columbus Crew. My guy, who you got in this one?
I don't know if the Houston Dynamo are going to be like RSL and lose their first 2 games of the season, come back and win the third. But I'm going to have to go with the Columbus Crew because I've been saying since week 1 they're one of the better teams and they've won their first 2 games. I think last week was by 1, the week before was by 2, and I just can't see Houston beating them. So I'm going to go
Yeah,
Columbus Crew.
yeah. I think I got to go with Columbus as well. Chino also has Columbus. Houston, you might have a problem. You better fix it because we're all taking Columbus. Next, we got Seattle Sounders versus LAFC. Ooh, this will be a fun one to watch if we do get a chance. Seattle obviously coming off that hard loss to RSL. Los Angeles, I believe, one of the only undefeated teams left in the season. Probably was going to be another tight one. Seattle's probably going to turn it around a little bit. LAFC does play tonight. They're actually probably playing right now as we record this episode. So they could be somewhat tired come Saturday. But I do think
They are
LAFC keeps
currently
it
winning
rolling.
at halftime.
Ooh, okay, LAFC winning right now, so maybe
Uh-huh.
they could rest a couple guys depending on how up they are. But I'm going to go with LAFC again. They are one of my favorites for the season. I'm going with LAFC. And our friend Chino is going for Seattle in this one.
Yeah. So I feel like LA has been a bit sketch, like maybe they haven't been playing as well as I would assume they would be. But I am still see, this is hard because the Sounders are also good. So, but I am gonna have to go with LAFC this week. We'll see how it goes.
Alrighty. Well, obviously, maybe we should all switch our picks because Chino's obviously going with Seattle and he's been way better at picks than us, but we'll see what happens. Next, we got Atlanta
Luck.
United versus the New York Red Bulls. I think Atlanta brings it back this game. They'll probably start rolling again, so give me Atlanta. Our friend Chino also has Atlanta.
Yeah. See, I just think about things too much, honestly. I'm going to have to go against the grain, and I feel like with the momentum they got from last game, the Red Bulls will bring it into this week and win. So I'll go with the Red Bulls.
Alrighty, going with Red Bulls. There we go. After this, we got the DC United versus Sporting Kansas City. See how this one goes. I like DC United. I think they're a good team. They haven't lost yet, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they get a win against Sporting Kansas City. Give me DC United. Our friend Chino is going with Kansas City.
Yeah. Although I don't think DC United played the best last week, and they definitely got lucky with that goal that they scored it with the last kick of the game. Sporting Kansas City also has not played like the Chiefs, and they've been ass. So I'm going with DC United. No ref help here.
There you go. Ooh, a little dig. I like it. All right, after this one, we got FC Cincinnati versus Toronto. I don't think Toronto's had the greatest start to the season either. Cincinnati obviously did not play well last week, but I do believe they will get the win this week. So give me Cincinnati. Our friend Chino also has Cincinnati. What say you, Fern?
I picked Toronto as one of my not so favorable wins for the MLS, and I think they're definitely becoming one of the less likely teams to win the league. So I am going to have to go with Cincinnati because they have not been playing too well.
Righty, Cincinnati all around. After this, we got New England Revolution and Philly. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to stick with Philadelphia. They've been rolling. They've been playing really well. So I feel like, Philly it is.
Yeah, I think they're rolling. Like you said, they're definitely playing well. I think they're also one of the undefeateds in the league that are left. Chino has Philly. I also have Philly. Philly all around. After this, we got New York City FC and Orlando City. Who do you got on this one?
I'm gonna go with Orlando. They've been surprisingly all right this year, so I'll go with Orlando.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I think they're a much better team than what they looked like on week one. Even though week one they did lose, I do think they should, like I said, I think I mentioned this in week one. They shot themselves in the foot during their first game. Second game, obviously they got the win. They got the goals as well. I think they're going to be a little bit sneaky. I think they're a lot better than people think. So I'm going to go with Orlando. Our friend Chino does say New York City. So we'll see.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
The guy's crazy. I mean, what can I tell you? After this, we got Austin versus Colorado. What do you think?
I feel like Austin has been playing pretty well, and Colorado has had 2 draws to start the season, so I'm gonna lean with Austin FC this week.
Okay, Austin. Our friend Chino also has Austin winning this one. I do like Austin in this, but I think Colorado is also one of those teams that's a little bit better than they've been playing. I'm gonna go against both of you guys, and I'm gonna go with Colorado to take this one.
Fun fact: now that we're talking about Colorado, it's actually one of the least attended stadiums in the MLS. So,
well, they probably get worse snow than us, being a little bit north-ish of us. So I can see that.
Yeah.
If it does snow, it's so dang much. And I do believe you mentioned this earlier. There was a game that was so very bad snow game. I believe it was in Colorado, maybe 1 or 2 years ago where it was super bad. So I get it. I mean, that kind of sucks. But give me Colorado in this one. After this, we do have FC Dallas versus Chicago Fire. I think Dallas is a lot better than we gave them credit for at the beginning of the season. And I believe they've been doing pretty decently the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
so
they've won 1 and drew 1 to start the season. So
yeah. So I'm going to go with FC Dallas for this game. Chino has Chicago Fire. Who do you have, Fern?
So you went Dallas?
I went Dallas. Yep. Chino went Chicago.
I think I'm gonna go with Chino, aka Lopez. Chicago Fire, because the first game they played this year this season was Columbus Crew, which I wouldn't have seen them winning anyways. And I do feel like they got a bit unlucky with DC United's goal. So I feel like they've been playing pretty well. So I'm going to go with the Chicago Fire this week.
All right. There you go. Nashville versus Portland Timbers. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Nashville.
Nashville. Nice and easy. Chino does have Portland in this one. I think this one, man, I don't know. I have a hard time calling this one. I think, is Portland home in this one?
They are
Portland, isn't it?
No, they're not.
Oh,
Tennessee.
Nashville.
It's in Tennessee, yeah.
Ooh, I think I might have to go Nashville. I think Nashville gets this one.
And Lopez put Timbers?
Yes. Next one after this, Real Salt Lake versus San Diego in Utah, I believe, in Utah. Interesting. This will be a very interesting game. Chucky Lozano probably out, maybe, for this game.
On the injury report, it does say he's out with the hamstring injury until late March. So.
Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, Chucky Lozano, I think, is a big part of this team. And the way that Real Salt Lake was able to bounce back last week has me believing again. Could be another Utah thing, like where we're being let down. Who knows? But I believe. Give me RSL.
I'm tired of these toxic relationships, man. I just don't know. One day they're hot, one day they're not. But I'm gonna have to go with Real Salt Lake on this one as well. So
yep, Chino's got Real Salt Lake too. So don't let us down, RSL. Let's get another win, baby. Let's go. All right, after this we got Vancouver Whitecaps versus Montreal. I think I mentioned this week 1 or 2. I don't remember. Vancouver looks good. I think they get this win, no problem. Chino has Montreal taking this one. What say you, Fernando?
I'm going to go with Vancouver taking this one. I just feel like they've had a better start to the season. And with going on with my fun facts for today, apparently, is when I was doing my research for most expensive and least expensive tickets, the Vancouver Whitecaps last year had 10 games where tickets were under $10.
No way.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a cheap game, just go up to Vancouver and
dude, we might have to take a trip to Canada.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe like boo during the national anthem or something.
Yeah.
Hey, just kidding. Jokes, people, jokes. After this, to finish off Saturday, we got San Jose Earthquake versus Minnesota United. I cannot take my eyes off the Earthquakes. Los Terremotos. I think they're legit, and I think they're going to just keep rolling as another one of the undefeateds left in the season. Give me San Jose. Chino also has San Jose. What do you think, Fern?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to... San Jose. They've just been playing too good to start the season. There's no way.
Yep, and there you go. Another Sunday game for Inter Miami against Charlotte. Charlotte, surprisingly, with a great win last week with Zaha in the lineup. I'm assuming Messi will be in this one again. This could honestly go any way here, but I believe Messi will play this one.
Yeah, I feel like this will be a good game as well. I might even call it my game of the week. But yeah, if Zaha plays, I feel like they did pretty good this past week, and we'll see about the Messi situation. I'm pretty sure he'll play, but they do play this Thursday, and then they play Sunday. So depending if he plays the full 90 minutes on Thursday, we'll see. But you already know who I'm going to go with. I have to go with Inter Miami. So
there you go. I believe we have Chino going with Miami as well. So 2 Miamis. Yeah. I'm going to call the upset on this one. And then I'm going to call Charlotte taking it. And after this game, if Charlotte does win, probably some crazy conversations going on in Miami. Give me Charlotte.
They need to sell Messi back to Barcelona, and then
they don't got the money, bro. They ain't got it. To finish off week 3, we have LA Galaxy versus St. Louis City. Obviously not the greatest start that Galaxy wanted. St. Louis obviously wants everything to do with winning, even though they drew 0-0 against San Diego last week. But I'm hoping this is the week that Galaxy gets something back. I'm going to go with the Galaxy. Chino has the Galaxy. What do you think, Fern, to cap off week 3?
Ooh. Should I give you a hint who I'm picking? Give me the Galaxy. It says
there
Marco
you
Reus.
Go. Marco Reus. Dang, dude. All right, perfect. Well, I guess we're all going with Galaxy on that one.
Again.
Solid stuff. Hopefully they don't let us down either. Probably letting us down more than than RSL does at this point.
Yeah.
Solid. Okay. Well, those are our picks. Everybody, that is episode 3. Great conversations all around. Great correct performances. Chino, we miss you, homie. Hopefully we get you on the next one. Hopefully we start to change the leaderboard a little bit. We need to get some points here. We need to start winning as Mr. Not Novices of the podcast. So hopefully we can kind of get some points on the board more. Thank you all for watching, supporting. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the likes. Please like, subscribe, share the videos, share the Instagram, share the YouTube, share the love. We out here. We trying. We doing what we doing. Peace.
See you guys.